Today's show is sponsored by the ABV Barrel Shop. The ABV Barrel Shop is located in the St. Louis metro community of Arnold, Missouri, and is the world's first single barrel only liquor store. This store is owned and operated by Steve Akeley and Jim Fosnot. Get signed up for their email distribution list to find out when the store will be opening, what their hours will be, and most importantly, what they will have in inventory at abvbarrelshop.com. We are also sponsored by The Bar to Go. The Bar to Go offers a fully customizable carrying case that allows you to take your favorite distilled spirits or cocktail ingredients with you. Whether you're looking for yourself, a customized gift, or logo items for your business or event, The Bar to Go can help. Check them out at thebartogo.com. Use the number 2 when you type out The Bar to Go. Did you know Neely Family Distillery now ships its popular distilled spirits directly to you? To order, simply call 859-394-3258. Tell them the ABV Network sent you. And now, on to the show.
Let's drink!
Welcome to the Bourbon Daily, the podcast about everything bourbon delivered to you every day of the week. Today on the show, we're talking to Daniel Milne of Whiskey Hammer Auctions. My name is Steve Akeley. Please join me in welcoming my special guest, Mr. Daniel Milne. Hey, Daniel, how you doing, man?
Hey, Steve. All good, thanks. All good from cold Scotland.
Scotland. Yeah, I'm doing good as well. So, you know, and of course, we want to find out a little bit about you here on a personal basis. That's the way we always kick these things off. We like to talk to our guests on a personal basis. We'll talk about the auctions and the things that you got going on today. So some exciting stuff happening today. But before we get to all that, I think it's important that we learn a little bit about you. So tell us about yourself.
Yeah, sure. No problem at all. So yeah, born and bred Northeast Scotland, not too far from the Speyside Scotch whisky region.
Okay.
I'm sure you're very familiar with that area. Macduff, I don't know if that rings any bells, but it's on the edge of the Speyside region. So my brother Craig and I, we were born and raised there, and in 2015 we decided to form a whisky auction platform essentially from a pre-existing passion for Scotch whisky and all things old, collectible, and vintage whiskies. We loved learning about these bottlings, and one way we thought we could learn more was to form our own auction house, and that's what we did in 2015. Roll forward to today, it's grown to become, I guess, one of the largest in the UK. We're hosting auctions every month, 3,000 to 4,000 bottles, typically the sort of auction size, and yeah, we've been having fun along the way. So yeah.
So are you a fan of just Scotch? Are you fans of all whiskey? And specifically, of course, we're the Bourbon Daily. Are you a fan of what we're doing over here in the U.S. with the bourbon?
Yes, of course. I mean, bourbon's a huge part of what we do now. We've seen significant growth in the bourbon space in the last 5 years. It's forever growing, and it's something that we love to learn more and more about all the time. And obviously, the taste profiles just are endless. So it's fascinating to get into all these micro distilleries and also the greats, and fascinated by the history of all.
Yeah. Do you ever come to the U.S.? Have you been over here and checked out what we have going on in the world of distilling?
Yeah, I've been over a few times. On not whiskey related, I must admit. Family holidays and such like. But
okay,
yeah,
where did you go? I'm fascinated by when someone comes to the U.S. where they go. They'll go to like a place like Las Vegas and be like, "That's not really what the U.S. is really like." This kind of, it's over the top even for us. I mean, so where have you been?
Yeah, I am guilty. I've done Vegas once or twice. But
a lot of people do that. Be like, "That's the U.S." I'm like, okay, if that's what you think, yeah.
No, I've fond memories of a trip to California. We did a fly drive there from.
Sure.
Well, we actually left from Vegas. We drove from Vegas through LA and up to California and to Yosemite National Park, which was
beautiful,
awesome. One of the best places I've ever been. So, yeah, fond memories of that, and looking forward to doing that again someday. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Driving, is that a problem? Do you guys, do you drive on the right hand side or the left hand side of the road? I would guess left, but I don't know for sure actually.
Yeah, we're on the left, and it was
Yeah, how
certainly
tough is
interesting.
that? How tough is that when you come over? Because I've never. It kind of scares me because I'd like to go over to Scotland. I want to go to the distilleries and stuff, but I'm like, oh, is that going to be a problem? I don't know.
It was certainly interesting. I must admit, my wife had a few scary moments when I pulled on the wrong side of the road after coming out of
Yeah,
junctions, and missed a few stop signs as well, which was a novelty driving in the US. But I think the memory was we kept sort of driving into the verge because it just didn't feel natural to be on the wrong side
yeah,
of the road. But
yeah.
yeah, fun and games.
Yeah, I have not been to Scotland. I've been to London, but I wasn't driving. Everything was taxi cabs and stuff like that when I went over there. And I got to say, I was scared thinking about those roundabouts and that, and being just the driver confusion of being on. I put myself in that position a lot of time, and I'm looking the wrong way when I'm going across the street, because it's different. When you're in the U.S. versus other places, you're one way streets and you're looking the wrong way. So, but yeah, it's definitely pretty wild, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You need to be careful on those roads, especially after enjoying some bourbons or scotch.
Absolutely. So well, good to kind of find out that you have this great whiskey background. It's something that interests you. I'm glad to hear you come to the US, and I've been here a few times, so that sounds pretty cool. So good to get to know you a little bit. And what we'll do next, we'll take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to be talking about the things that you have going on at Whiskey Hammer and the auction. We'll do that in just a few. Let's talk about the people who make these shows happen. First up is the ABV Barrel Shop. The ABV Barrel Shop is owned and operated by Steve Akeley and Jim Fosnot in the greater St. Louis area. It is the most unique shopping experience in the world of bourbon, as the ABV Barrel Shop only focuses on single barrels. We aren't open just yet, but our plan is to have the most diverse single barrel offerings from our many friends in the world of bourbon. By signing up for a weekly email, you will know our entire inventory we have on hand. In addition to single barrels, we'll have a tasting bar and a gift shop featuring logo merchandise for both the shop and the ABV network, as well as a full curriculum of bourbon education classes. Additionally, we'll use the gift shop to feature products from our partners in the world of bourbon, companies like Art Eatable Chocolates and Old Man Bay Signs. Head over to ABV Barrel Shop to sign up for our email and text distribution list so you can stay in the know. Hi, this is Steve Akeley, owner of the ABV Network. We're sponsored by the Stave and Thief Society. This is where you, a bourbon enthusiast, can expand your knowledge and emerge a bourbon steward. In 2017, I completed my Executive Bourbon Steward certification. It's the most comprehensive bourbon certification program available and connects you with an expansive network of bourbon enthusiasts and professionals. Check out the full listing of in-person and online certifications and join the society today by enrolling at staveandthief.com. Okay, let's talk about Neely Family Distillery. In 2018, I met Royce Neely at an industry event. He started appearing on our shows, and we became friends during my frequent visits to Kentucky. Today, he's leading the way for young distillers making their mark on the bourbon industry. A visit to Neely Family Distillery combines family history, a look at what makes their products unique, and of course a tasting through their whiskeys, moonshines, and creams. Check them out at NeelyFamilyDistillery.com and visit them in Sparta, Kentucky.
Hello, this is Daddy Kennard, and I'm recording on the ABV Network.
All right, everybody, welcome back. My name is Steve Akeley. I'm joined by Daniel Milne, and we're talking about Whiskey Hammer auctions. And what do you have going on today, actually, in terms of an auction?
Yeah, no problem, Steve. So on Monday just passed there, to coincide with the Independence Day celebrations, we launched our Spirit of America auction, which is we run auctions every month, which are kind of 3,000-4,000 bottles with all walks of life of whiskey, from predominantly Scotch, but heavily influenced from bourbon as well. But this particular auction we decided to dedicate to American whiskies, and yeah, it's typically it's a smaller auction than our usual offering. but it's intentional. What we've done here is we've taken the focus entirely onto the American whiskies that are featuring some high quality bourbon and other American whiskies, and it's really given our American whiskey sellers a chance to properly showcase their prized bottles to our global audience.
Yeah. What type of bottles do you have in there? Is there any that you can share that people might be interested in?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the auction is live now on our site, whiskeyhammer.com. So anybody can, go and view the entire. And
that's
entire
no
catalog.
E on the whiskey, correct? Whiskey Hammer.
No,
yeah,
that's right. Yeah, no E on the whiskey. Yeah, that's right. So some lots that have stood out to me when browsing are certainly the Pappy Van Winkle 23-year-old decanter that we've got in there. One of only 1,200 bottles. It was distilled way back in '86, and it was the first time that Van Winkle was bottled at any proof other than 95.6. It's likely going to be the highest value bottle in the auction. But
what are you guys anticipating? I know you, and of course, anything can happen in an auction, but you usually have like a projection of what you think it's going to get. Where do you think it's going to hit on that one?
The Pappy decanter, we would expect anywhere in the region of $15,000 to $20,000 US.
Okay. Yeah.
And hopefully we can achieve that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they go for. I mean, it's literally, usually $20,000, $25,000, which, you can buy a pretty nice car for that price, but that's what we see those things going for. That's just the market. I mean, it's that aggressive. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's fascinating at the minute. The particularly whiskey in general, but the secondary market is very strong.
Yeah. Okay. What else you got in there?
You will have seen the E.H. Taylor, some of those E.H. Taylor, the sour mash, for example, super super sought after bottle as well as the warehouse tornado surviving bottle, which has also got a fantastic story behind it when the tornado hit, and these bottles casks were discovered years later, which produced some fantastic bourbon. So unique and very just absolutely covered in interesting history as well.
Yeah. I believe it or not, I was supposed to get a bottle of that. So when this happens, and this is years ago that came out, and Mark Brown put out a press release, the president of Sazerac, and in that he said, if you're interested in a bottle, send me an email, and it's his email address, so it's his personal email address. So I do that, of course. I'm interested in this, and he says, okay, what store do you want me to send it to? And so I fill out the thing and I send it to my local store. They claim they never got it. So someone got my bottle of that. It may be in this auction here right now. It could be that bottle that I never got. In some way it made its way to you. But yeah, crazy. But I almost had one of those, but alas, I did not. It wasn't meant to be. So what about, how do you procure the bottles that you've got? Where have you been able to get these things at?
So these are all from private sellers. So
okay.
It's often misconceived that the auctions are involved in purchasing the bottles that are on the auction for sale. We don't do that at all. We're essentially just a platform in the middle.
Yep.
So we receive the bottles from our seller network, which is truly global. As you might not be too surprised to hear that most of the bourbon that appears originates from US based private collectors and private sellers, and they make their way to us over in Northeast Scotland, and we do all the rest of the work, the marketing, the photography, the hosting, and then we do the safe packaging, etc., to get them out to the successful bidders at the end of the auction.
Yeah. So Daniel, someone listening to the show today, and more than likely it's going to be in the US. I mean, that's where, 99.9% of our audience comes from. Though they could listen anywhere, but it's really a US based show, and that's who's listening as well. But if someone's listening to this and that this auction is going on live now, can they get involved? Can they register and put a credit card in the system? And do they have the ability to bid and win one of these lots?
Yeah, absolutely. The auction runs until the 10th of July, and it ends at 7 p.m. GMT. That's UK time. The process is very straightforward. I think we've set everything out nice and clear on the site in terms of the process. But as always, our team are absolutely delighted to talk anything whiskey related via email or via phone. So any questions that anybody has, please do get in touch with us. Registration takes around 5 minutes, and then once you get into the site, you can use our filters, and we have the usual sort of watch list feature to help browse through the auction offerings. Bidding is relatively straightforward. You enter your max bid that you're prepared to pay for something, and our system does the rest. It automatically bids on your behalf up to your max bid. So that saves the need for any final few minutes of the auction crazy bidding activity.
Is it then listed? Does it do the conversion for you too? So I'm bidding in US dollars for if I'm making a bid.
Yeah, we do have a drop down at the top of the site that lets you convert the entire site to US dollars. Payments at the end it's all made in GBP, but the US dollar conversion is there, so you can easily do that. Because
that can get confusing if you're just bidding and you don't know that up front. So that's good.
Yeah, there is normally a one-off £5 registration fee, and that is only there to ensure that customers signing up are legitimate. But for your listeners, we are doing a code on that. So if you enter Bourbon, all capitals, at registration, we will waive that £5 registration fee. Make it a little bit easier for your listeners.
That's excellent. We appreciate that. That's a cool thing for sure. What if someone, because selling your whiskey collection in the US can be something that is way more challenged than you think, because what we are controlled by ultimately is state laws. So there's 50 states and there's 50 different sets of laws and how you do this and all that, and it can be very cumbersome, and many states just absolutely don't allow that. I've heard horror stories for people who are whiskey fans like you and I, like estate sales, where they're literally getting rid of auctioning off a state, and they get bottles of whiskey and things like that, very old stuff. They gotta open it up and pour it down the drain because they're not allowed to sell that. So could someone theoretically reach out to you if down the road they want to sell some of their collection and facilitate an auction through you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. We're regularly selling collections for US based private collectors, and clearly we need to abide by the state rules, absolutely, right. and we do so. So if we can help, we certainly will within those within the legislation. There, it's worth mentioning at that point when we think about the auction, and if you want to come on and have a bid, please do make sure you check out our shipping page first to make sure that we can ship to your state because there are we constantly try and improve this service as best as we can, but unfortunately there are some states that we just cannot ship to due to those state laws. So our shipping page on the website makes it really clear. Another thing worth mentioning on the same note as shipping is we do offer 3 months free storage. And our US-based bidders quite often utilize this to optimize shipping costs, because it can be high for, if you only maybe win one bottle, shipping is quite expensive. But over the course of 3 months, if you maybe bid 3, 4, 5, 6 bottles, it clearly hugely optimizes the shipping cost on a per bottle basis.
Yeah, so that's how often are you guys having these auctions? So if I suddenly like what you're doing, I find out they will ship to my state. How often are you having these auctions up, or then I can then accumulate bottles? Ultimately, then you ship them all together to me at some point.
Yeah, we host an auction once per month. Normally, that's our sort of normal schedule. There's one auction a month. The Spirit of America bourbon auction that we're running live now is the sort of it's not normal. We don't normally do these sort of special dedicated auctions, but it's out with the usual schedule. So typically it's one a month, but this month everybody's getting 2, which is great.
yeah, it's just bonus. So Heck yeah, why not? Why not? So what has been the most unusual thing that you've ever sold when it comes to a whiskey hammer auction?
Oh, that is a tricky question. Unusual. We've seen all sorts from sort of these. The thing that comes to mind actually, because I saw one a few days ago, and I always laugh at these, is the Japanese. There's one of the distilleries does a Tigers baseball team set, and each of the bottles in the set is a little man. It's like a little ornament with a man with like a nodding head, and it's just. You need to see this thing to believe how it is very strange. But that's
Do you guys ever get any vintage U.S. whiskey? So things like the Pappy 23 and stuff like that, very cool and highly desirable. But some of the things people like is it might be like an old 1969 Old Crow Chessman or some old Fitzgerald from the 50s, things like that. Do you guys ever get any of that vintage stuff as well?
Yeah, we do, and there are some on the auction that's live just now. In fact, Old Crow, I spotted one of them today. And this it's not ideal for the listeners because they can't see what I'm showing you here. But the Old Fitzgerald that I'm actually enjoying just now is is a very it's quite interesting. I got this out of auction myself quite a number of years ago, but it's a 1976 bottling, which it contains the Stitzel Weller whiskey distilled by the Van Winkle family, but it was obviously bottled by the new owners when they took over in 1972. By that point, they'd renamed it the Old Fitzgerald Distillery. So, these types of vintage bottles appear regularly, and not only in the live Spirit of America auction, but generally speaking, throughout our regular monthly auctions, we do see these from time to time. Yeah,
that's exciting. So definitely, I think people want to check it out. They want to follow the journey. They may want to get involved in bidding. Where can they do all this stuff at, Daniel?
Yeah, so everything goes on at whiskeyhammer.com. No E in whiskey, as we said earlier. And as I said, our team are always delighted to help, always delighted to talk anything whiskey. So any questions at all, just email or pick up the phone, and we're happy to talk.
Great. All right. For me, I'm an easy guy to find. I'm at Steve Akeley on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I've got a website, steveakeley.com. The important website, though, is abvnetwork.com. Check it out because everything that we do is out there. All of our podcasts, blogs, so much more, abvnetwork.com. Remind you that please give us a 5-star review. Include comments. It helps new people find the show. That's pretty darn important to us. And if you like what we're doing, get involved. Head over to patreon.com/the ABV Network. Daniel, thanks so much for joining me today, man. Really appreciate it.
No problem at all, Steve. It's a pleasure.
All right. Take care. See ya. Bye,
Thank you.
everyone. Peace. Before we finish the show, let's talk about some great companies that support the ABV network. First up is Moonshine Still Pro. Moonshine Still Pro has a full line of products to help the home distiller. Whether you want to experiment on the stove in your kitchen or you're looking for a bigger setup in your backyard, owner Russell Creed and his team can help. They have multiple still offerings, accessories, and even grain from their partners at Goldstone Mill to assist you in making whiskey on par with your favorite distillery. They can also help you with some fabricated parts you probably can't make yourself if you are attempting a DIY still project. Learn more or order your still or parts at moonshinestillpro.com. Another friend of ours is the Goldstein family at Goldstone Mill. The Goldsteins offer a variety of heritage and heirloom grains to make the finest whiskeys in the world. Plus, they are more than just a grain company. They are truly consultants to make sure the grains they are providing to you or your business meet your highest expectations. Additionally, they work with mills around the country, ensuring shipping is as low as possible for their customers. If you're a distillery, brewery, or even doing this at home, Goldstone can assist you. Check them out at goldstonemill.com, call them at 217-254-6613, or check in via email at hello@goldstonemill.com. Last but not least is the ABV Barrel Shop. While we don't get to play in the allocated bourbon game because we aren't selling the other products you have to do to get those, we do have access via our friendships in the bourbon industry to some really cool stuff. Have you ever seen your favorite craft distiller selling some really cool limited offerings only in their gift shop? I'm talking things like the hazmat offering Distillery 291 did for their 10th anniversary, or Neely Family Distillery's upcoming Papaw's birthday barrel. They don't have enough of it to send it out to distributors, so they only sell it via their gift shop. Well, companies like Distillery 291 and Neely Family Distillery have agreed to sell us 2 or 3 cases of these offerings moving forward, meaning our store will have the access to some of the rarest whiskeys in the world. Way more difficult to come by than the allocated bourbon offerings with the national release. Yes, they will be extremely tough to come by, but if you're a customer of our store, you'll have a chance to get them. Get signed up for our email or text list over at abvbarrelshop.com so you don't miss out.
The Bourbon Daily is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to become a sponsor, please visit abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening and cheers.
This has been a Steve Akeley production.